Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So really big news in Hearthstone today. We have the announcement that it's official. Arena will be standard. It seems like it's going to be part of the patch at the end of the month, so it's actually happening pretty damn soon. They were talking about this, but it was mostly speculative. They were kind of exploring the idea, exploring the feedback, and I guess they're going through with it, and it's pretty exciting stuff. There's a little bit more to it than that. So not only are they making Arena standard moving forward, but they're also adjusting the chances that you get certain cards. They want to decrease some cards like Flame Strike, Abyssal Enforcer, and in general they want cards of higher rarities and commons to show up more. Now they don't really say how much more. They say right now it's about 78-80% common cards in any given arena deck, and they want that number to be lower. Now, 10% lower or like 80% lower, that makes all the difference. So what does that mean? We really just have to see. We really just have to wait until the patch comes out, try it, and then get some real understanding behind these mechanics. They also want to decrease the number of neutral cards that show up in Arena, and once again, do they want 10% fewer neutral cards, or do they want 80% fewer neutral cards? Because again, that makes all of the difference. However, I really appreciate neutral cards in Arena, particularly if Arena is going to be standard format. We want Arena to be a bit clunky still. We don't want, every single Arena to be like, oh, I need to draft a deck that's as close to the current meta decks as possible. There's not much exploration with that. There's not that much strategy, and I feel Arena really highlights those aspects of the game. So I hope they don't go overboard, at least with the decrease of the neutral cards, because I think that is the actual backbone in what makes Arena feel what it is. The clumsiness aspect, I think, is actually pretty important to the format. And the last thing that they're doing is a pretty interesting one. They want to balance out so you are given the opportunity to have a deck of about 50% spells if you choose to. And this is a really big one. I think this will affect first versus second discrepancy in win rates by a lot, because the early game answers and board clears are usually what swing the game for the player going second. And, again, it's in the details. We don't want like another board clear to be super dominant once again, but at the same time, I think the idea behind this is a great one. And more importantly than the actual changes, it was posted here, as you can see on Reddit by Ben Brode, that this is more or less of an experiment. And because they're upfront about that, I think they're really going to gain a lot of credit. And even though there are some people that hate the idea of standard Arena, I think you guys, I am all in for ranting about Blizzard doing stupid shit. But, Blizzard's coming out and it's like, let's try it. Let's try this version of Arena. If it doesn't work, we can revert it. We can maybe change something else in the future. It's going to be an experiment, and we're hoping to have it be a good experiment. You literally cannot hate that, right? So Arena is in an okay state right now, but certainly the core mechanics behind it kind of get worse with every single expansion, and this is a real effort to change that. And if it doesn't work, they're committed to changing it. So I really am 100% positive behind their changes here. And I think you guys should have the same perspective here. More importantly, because they're going to happen pretty soon here, I think they're going to happen at the end of February, we're actually going to test what the format is like without the inclusion of GVG and Nax. And GVG and Nax actually don't have that much of the card pool right now, but when Standard rolls over, when the next expansion is released, probably a month or two after this patch, we'll get to see in a big way what the change will actually mean. So I like this two-step change because the changes that are going to happen a week from now aren't going to be so big on the card selection, because there's not many cards that you're no longer going to be able to pick. And I'll go over the cards so you guys can actually see that what I'm saying is actually true. But we will get emphasis on the other changes. We will see if the balance of neutral cards, of spells, board clears, we'll get to see if the balance of all of that makes sense. And if the balance of all that makes sense, and then, it just sucks that it's standard, maybe we won't find out until it actually rolls over, and then if we do know for sure, then maybe they'll go to change that. So I think the timing is great, the open-mindedness of the format is great, and they really should be behaving this way. I mean, I know they care a lot about their precious rank mode and all that kind of crap, but a lot of people enjoy the other play modes in Hearthstone, certainly like Arena, like I do, and they have very little reason to keep it in a strict regiment because there is no like big competition that involves Arena. So why not make the most of it? Why not implement changes, see what's fun, and if there are some very successful changes in Arena, maybe then, if it's a sure thing, maybe then you can translate it to the ranked real game mode of Hearthstone, I suppose. So I love the direction. And again, if you think Standard Arena is going to suck, well, if you're right, seems like they're just going to change it again. So change is great, and I think we should appreciate that, and we should give full props to Blizzard for going on a limb and working with us in this pretty spectacular way, in my opinion. Now, in terms of the cards that are going to be rolling out, I got these infographics from Hearth Arena. Hearth Arena is one of my partners, and they do a good job of having a statistical method of granting cards a certain value. So we can see here, so the common cards leaving the arena at end of February. We can see that Death's Bite has a 106, which is extremely high, so Warriors not having Death's Bite as a common is a pretty big deal. No Glaive Zuka, no Dark Cultist, no Velen's Chosen. So there's some pretty big cards that are exiting, but you can tell, just in general, there's not all that many. So yes, Warriors will probably get a little bit worse. Priests will probably get a little bit worse. Seems like Shamans are going to get a little bit worse, but it's not game changing. I feel because of the timing of this change coming right before the actual big standard rollover, we're really going to see what the other changes are going to be, what they're going to mean. And as far as the rare cards, we can see mostly just Paladin loses Muster, Warlock loses Implosion, Shaman loses their Power Mace, but after that is kind of a wash. Very few good rares in Nax and GVG as it turns out. As for Epics, again, Paladins lose another weapon, so maybe Paladins won't be quite as good, but these are epic cards. You can't really expect to run into these when you play Arena, so it's really not a big deal in my opinion. Legendaries, oh, we missed the Dr. Boom. I actually really like Kel'Thuzad, I really like Mal'Ganis, even Neptulon's really cool, so we're going to miss a few legendaries, but again, as much as I've played Arena, I've had Dr. Boom in my decks like 4 or 5 times. It's really not a big deal. The whole standard versus wild thing in Arena, that aspect is not going to be the focus next week. The focus next week when these changes go out is going to be on the rest of the big changes. And then if those work out, we'll really get to see what a smaller card pool will do when the next expansion comes out. And just because of the timing of things, just because the changes, just because they say they're going to be committed to changes, I think we're in for a pretty wild ride when it comes to playing Arena. And I really appreciate that. So good news from the updates today. I hope you guys have enjoyed my review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.